The Olsinski Law Firm is an official sponsor of Top Bin 90, specializing in personal injury, criminal defense, DWI, family law, and workers' compensation. The Olsinski Law Firm provides professional, trusted legal services to clients facing a variety of challenges. With a team of experienced attorneys dedicated to protecting your rights, the Olsinski Law Firm is the legal support you can count on.
Hi, I'm Justin Olsinski, the founding partner of the Olsinski Law Firm. Me and my wife started this firm back in 2010 with the sole purpose of providing excellent service to our clients, giving our clients a personal touch because we had worked in bigger firms where we saw that not happening. We handle criminal defense matters, civil personal injury, wrongful death, workers' comp, and family law matters. We have a team of attorneys that care about the outcome of your case, and we will fight to make sure that you get the justice you deserve.
Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Top Bin 90 podcast. We're back after finally what it's felt like forever, a Charlotte FC MLS win. I've got two of the best people in MLS with me. I got Mr. Bam Maurer Media. How are you today, Brian?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Nice.
Enjoy the win.
Nice, awesome. And we have Mr. Lee, Mr. title winning.
What champion?
I'm gonna let you go ahead and get that out because I feel like
champions. Where's them Man U fans at? Where them Arsenal fans at, Brian?
With that said, right, we've all had a great weekend, especially Lee.
Two
Right.
wins, man.
Nice. You betted on both teams, right?
I sure did.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, cool. Let's touch a little bit on Charlotte FC. Obviously, kind of glad we didn't do any episodes during the super poor form, right? And so, we needed to get back to winning ways, and we did that this weekend. Brian, talk to me about this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that came to mind was just the mentality of the group right out of the gate. They looked really strong for the first 15 minutes. The press was higher than it had been in previous. I mean, really the whole season. I don't think I've really seen them press that high, and especially that effectively. They really looked like they were game and up for it. And then when they went down a goal, I actually think seeing them go down a goal when they were playing that well was, especially given the game state of this game and the losing streak, was really valuable for me to see, like, how much resilience does this team have when they're losing 5 in a row and then also looking like the better team and then going down a goal against the run of play, to see them bounce right back, not hang their heads. I think that's a moment where they could have really hung their heads, like, hey, this season's just not going our way anymore. But for them to pick their heads up and get 2 goals like right away, right off of that, after giving that one up, I think, and that's something Dean mentioned in the press conference too, how strong he felt the mentality was of the group after giving up that goal. So I feel like those are the two things that stood out. One, their energy was high, and their pressure was good, and then their mentality was strong after giving up the goal.
Yeah, I want you to touch a little bit more on that, Lee, because especially like the first 15 minutes, really felt comfortable with this team. It was like a breath of fresh air because it wasn't something that we've seen in a lot of these games. We talked, like Brian said, a lot about like the team wasn't even doing the basics right, and it looked like from the get-go, especially against Columbus, they were up for it.
Yeah, I mean, like Brian said, right? We just came out the gate, looked healthy, looked fresh, right? Melanda hit the bar, like 4 or 5 minutes in, and then, like you said, goal to me was completely against the run of play.
Yep.
And yeah, typically, if this had been a road game, you would have expected just another drubbing. But, the boys hung in there, and they did what they needed to do, and we got the W.
Nice. I want to also talk a little bit about, some of the formation. Well, not the formation change, but, Dean Smith opting to start Vargas over Abada, right? Yeah. And so I know we talked a little bit about this, Brian, but share your thoughts on that lineup change specifically.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Dean, said it best in the post-match, just covering, like, he didn't like the way Abada was in possession of the game when he came into the game on Wednesday, and so he just opted for a switch to Vargas. I don't think Abada has been, for me, super strong in terms of just overall his play. He's obviously had some good finishes. but I don't feel like he's done a good job in terms of helping set up teammates, making players around him better. That was something we asked of Zaha as well. But that's what, for me, in this game specifically, Zaha showed up and made his teammates around him better, setting up Ajima, setting up BL. And I think that was something that Abada hadn't brought so far this year. And so brought out a little bit more of a defensive option in Vargas, some guy, who's willing to bring a little bit more energy, again, for the pressing side of things, be more two-way player, willing to get back and defend. I mean, that's what Vargas has shown a willingness to do. That's why, I mean, Dean's even put him in at right back when needed, So I feel like just having that as an outlet, as an option, and switching things up a little bit was, it weighted all the attacking play to the left, and gave Zaha a lot of opportunity to create and be dangerous. And I think that helped.
Yeah, and we touched a little bit on it the last show we did where, Abada was showing some signs, like scoring back-to-back goals.
Yeah.
And we spoke about, like, if you're an $8 million DP, right, like, it has to feel like you're an $8 million DP, and you can't be getting replaced, by Kerwin Vargas. So I think it's more of a wake-up call for him because this is his second season with Charlotte FC. And I think you and I both are in agreement where we'd like to see a little bit more from Abada.
And when you score 3 goals and it doesn't feel like you said, they didn't miss a beat without him in the starting 11.
Yep.
I think that's a huge issue. I mean, if you're Abada, you're like, they don't look like they've missed a beat out there, and I'm not a part of the, his presence wasn't missed, and I think that's an important thing to note. Like, if you're a DP and you're not in the starting 11, your presence should be missed.
100%.
And so since it's not, I mean, I think that's a bigger red flag moving forward.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Lee?
No, I mean, to touch on that, I mean, Abada had a sitter, in my opinion, and he missed that, right? I mean, that's $8 million, right, that we paid that you would expect to, and that would have taken the pressure off us towards the end of that game, right? But no, I mean, Vargas came in and did a job, man, and like you mentioned, he definitely tracks back, and I think that helps out tremendously down that side, right? And then, like you said, it opened it up for Zaha, and I mean, that pass Zaha made to Patrick was just on point, man, so. Kudos to Zaha.
Yeah. All right. Now you're touching a little bit on it, so we go from one DP to the other, right? Well, for Zaha, right, we've been asking for a big game, big moments from him, and I felt like we saw that this week, and this was arguably his best game in a Charlotte FC jersey, right? And, I mean, he had 2 phenomenal assists. It could have been 3 or 4, right? Specifically the first one to Patrick Ajiman, just the weight of the pass, just how great that ball was, and so Ajiman, we talk, running in behind 1v1 with a goalkeeper, like, he's gonna score.
Yeah, I mean, the pass, I mean, Ajiman didn't need to touch it until he just let it run right into the spot for the shot, and I think that's just, I mean, that's a sign of a perfect pass there. Also, I'd like to point out the Trivella that he had a little bit later to BL, put BL in, and I think BL could have done better with that one. That was the other pass that I really noticed from Zaha that was really strong. I think it's interesting that it was his creativity, setting up chances, that was the difference in this one compared to what we had maybe seen in weeks past, where he was really trying to get shots off and try to figure out a way to be on the scoring end of things. This time, he kind of maybe sits back a little bit, combines, sets players up to make the run in behind. And I think that may just be him getting a little bit more familiar with Ajiman's game, which is something that Zaha mentioned in the post-match as well. Just like, it takes some time for me to figure out how to play with these guys, how to learn Pat's game as well. And so I think that also is part of it too, is just he realized, like, hey, if Patrick is going to make these 1v1 runs in behind, if I sit a little deeper and pop him in with some through balls, I think that just, we hadn't really seen that combination playing out so far. And so to see that, the way both of them can play 1v1, I mean, there's a lot of dangerous moments potentially in the future for both of those.
His attitude was a lot better too.
That
like, he didn't, there was fouls that I would say definitely needed to be called that were not called for him, but instead of just sitting there sort of complaining and letting his shoulders go down and everything else, he definitely would just get up, have his say to the ref, right, and keep going, right? And so I think that comes into play too, in my opinion, especially with Zaha.
Yeah, and post-match, he was a little chippy, where he mentioned, these things take time, right? He talked about, this is his first season playing with BL. This is his first season playing with Patrick Ajiman, and it's not like things are going to click from the get-go. My only, I guess, rebuttal to that is, we still need to see Wilfred Zaha moments, though. I think a game like this kind of buys him that time to, okay, let him get acclimated, let him get adjusted, right? Because we talked about, MLS players second season tends to be better than the first, but we still have to see that DP-esque level of player, and I think he showed it this weekend. So I'm looking for more moments like that. I don't necessarily need him to be super consistent, right? But a progression has to be shown, and I think this game was one of those games where you're like, okay, like this is the Wilfred Zaha that Charlotte FC bought.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. Right, this is sort of what we've been expecting him to do in the
Yeah.
game, and he actually came and actually did it. And you could just see like the players around him were better. Right, I mean, it helped that Pep was having a brilliant game too.
Yep.
Right, and it's just
Yeah, and I go back to last year when we were kind of running like poor form, right? When Swiderski came in, when Biel came in, when Tim Ream came in, right? Like there was a period of 3 or 4 or 5 games, right, where like the team wasn't clicking. And then they kind of turned it around and players starting to get into form. And I think we're starting to see that, Patrick Ajiman, 4 goals in the last 3 games. You put up a stat, fastest player to get to 20 goals, right? He's at 21 now for Charlotte FC. Pep Biel's looking like the Pep Biel that was, who started off the season, right? And I mean, with Pep as well, like he also had an injury. So for me, like I'm okay with him taking a little bit of time because he's proven to me like we need to get this guy on a DP contract, right? Because like we need him till the end of the season because he has proven it. The quality of the goal that he scored to win us the game was phenomenal, and this is the stuff that we ask for in designated players, right? Where when a game is tight and you need to pull something out, you do it. And Pep Biel did it this weekend with that amazing goal, and also fair play to Zaha because he provided the assist.
Yeah, exactly. Because the floor of the team was high. They showed it last year, right? They got him to 50 points, but it was like, okay, like you said, the floor of the team can get them to that draw, get them to that 1-1, get them to that 2-2, but that difference, who gets them the winning goal, who gets them across the line, who gets them all 3 points more consistently, and that comes down to the DPs. That comes down to those magic moments, like Dean Smith said, going into the season, and I think that was like the first real, I feel like a magic moment, like, wow, the game, they had the lead twice, had an opportunity to finish it off, couldn't finish it off, 2-2, but then both DPs, I'm going to kind of throw BL in the DP mix, essentially. We know he's that quality. But both of their key players made the final play to get them the win.
Yeah, for sure.
What else is there to say? I mean, other than the fact, like you mentioned, I mean, his contract is coming up, right?
Yeah.
Is there any news on that?
Not yet. I mean,
we have the option to buy, right?
Yeah,
the
we
ball's
do.
in that court, right?
We do. The thing is, though, is just the roster structure of what they want to plan on doing in the summer is where, like, I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. But let's touch a little bit on, the other side of the coin where it's, we've been giving up a lot of goals, 15 goals in May, right? Even this weekend, right? Like, there were opportunities for us to kill the game off quicker. Yeah. And we're not doing that. And that, to me, is now becoming a concern because one of the things that Dean did last season was make us a difficult team to get scored on. And it feels like it's just too easy to score on us now. If Kalina's made some blunders, right, the defense doesn't look like it's gelling just well now. And so, Brian, how much of a concern should we have over this back line?
I mean, it's definitely a red flag. I mean, it's been most of the season. I highlighted it in the preseason. Like, hey, there's going to be a regression from Kalina. He had like a career year last year. There was going to be some regression. Now, he's made some blunders that I think are maybe uncharacteristic even of him. He had some blunders pre-2024. Lee's touched on those several times throughout his stint. But I mean, I think, and I think part of that also just comes down to volume as well. When you give up more volume, you set up more situations where the margins are thinner, where mistakes happen and they cost you more. Right. And so that's a part of it as well. I actually think in this game compared to some of the recent weeks, they didn't give up as many chances. That was another thing that Dean highlighted in the post match. Was like, hey, we didn't give up any big moments. There was the blunder to Amundsen on the second goal, but in terms of Columbus just creating a bunch of phenomenal chances, they didn't really create a ton. They had the LEU one, but there was a pretty clear misstep from Charlotte in terms of how that goal and that play was set up for the first goal. But compared to recent weeks, I don't think this was as bad a defensive performance as we have seen. I feel like throughout this year, there's been some real just poor openings.
My question is though, like comparing this year to last year, like Kalina was pulling off some crazy saves.
100%.
Right? Like this year will probably go in, right? So if you sort of take the way Kalina's playing so far this season and put that Kalina in goal last season, would it have been as leaky as it is now?
No, I think it's an interesting point because that was one thing I was looking at was just how many goals he prevented on FOTMob. He had prevented 13.1 goals last year. This year he's at like negative 1.4, something like that. If you average out their goals against this year compared to last year, that's the difference. Like the difference is his goals if that were to continue throughout the rest of this year. So a big portion of it for me is the fact that, Kalina was just in like rock star form last year, and to keep that up is just, that's why I bet against it. It was like, he was literally the second best goals prevented by a goalkeeper in MLS since 2013. Yeah. Like that's it. You can't repeat that. It's like sort of like when Carlos Vela put up like 34 goals and 15 assists. Like, all right, that's the peak. I'm going to bet that you don't hit that again. Like
Sam has a good point too, right, about the defensive mids, right?
Yep. Yeah, that also is a role. I think they've kind of changed. Their role has changed a little bit. Dean has talked about like wanting to play more progressively. There's been multiple games this year where they've tried to build out of the back more and not just stretch the field long. And I think they've been caught off several times. Like the Colorado Rapids game was specifically a good example of that, where they played out of the back a lot during the first 30 minutes, and Colorado had multiple chances early to put some goals away that they didn't take advantage of. And that's the other situation. They had chances that were against them early, and they just weren't, like, teams weren't taking advantage. Arango, that missed, straight in on goal, right? Sam Surridge had an opportunity to tie it in the last minute. He was straight in goal, and he just whiffed it and missed. Whereas now he's got like 9 goals, right? So literally, I think there was times where Charlotte was leaky at the back, and they were just catching maybe strikers not quite in form as they are now. And so part of that was fortune early on, whereas now it's like the goals are going in against them, and it's just showing, it's highlighting a little bit more.
And to add to that too, like Brant and Ashley are our starters, right? And so this is the profile of game they have. And Diani, Pekovic, no one has really come in and kind of challenged to say, okay, if we're going to change, if we're going to hold the ball more and be more progressive, right? Like there's nobody in our midfield that can come in and take the job from these guys. So that's kind of a concern as well, right? Because if they have a bit of a regression, like we're seeing through periods of different games, then it's an issue. One, because like when Diani has come in, he really hasn't taken his opportunity to solidify himself as well.
How much, though, does it hurt that Burns out, right? I mean, because he was a lock-in, right? I think he was one of our better players up until he was hurt, and I think 704 Game is asking about it too. But like he was out, he has been out 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And we had a 5-game losing streak. I mean, not to say it's all Burn, but I mean.
Yeah. I mean, if we see him this season, I don't think it'll be October, maybe November.
Long,
I mean, he had a surgery on like
his neck.
When did I hear though he was only going to be out for 5 or 6 games? Did I hear that?
Oh no,
am I making
months.
that up?
I think
it's 5 or 6
months.
months.
No,
yeah, I must have read that after the game.
Yeah. Well, they when they were first talking about it, if he didn't require surgery, but he required surgery, so if we see him, it's going to be near the end of the season.
And I think it's a chronic. I mean, because it's not really a game related. It's like a chronic injury, so it's like a completely different kind of scope than what you're used. I mean, it could change his. Honestly, I mean, hopefully not, but it could alter the rest of his career. I mean, in a situation like that.
You heard it here first. Brian said he's not coming back the same.
Oh, he might be taller and be able to win headers. He might come back.
It's because he was like on his phone like this.
Kids, get off your phone, man. Get off your phone. Back to the posture. No, I mean, Reem was out too, right? I think Reem had a really terrible time in DC, man, and I think that to me highlight, Reem's just getting old, and I just think because he's a name, then he's been a big name that like we expect him to start every week. And honestly, I think when he started and Privet's been out, we've looked worse in the back. But I'm just throwing that out there, Jorge.
How much? I don't know why you're pointing at me. I'm I don't go in on Tim Ream the way the internet goes on. Let me stop. What was I gonna say? Okay, staying on this topic on the back line, So there's a camp that says, okay, there's a lot of volume being shot at Charlotte. But then there's Dean Smith saying, well, it's not quality chances that they're creating. So how much of from way too many shots to not quality shots,
Just
where
takes
should we
one to
be
go
at,
in.
Brian?
Only one to
Well,
go in.
I feel like there's context that matters, right? The some of the shots they were giving up before this game were to like key players, Hani Mukhtar, Carlos Hill. You have moments from just really. I mean, even when Evander came to town, they won that game 2-0. But Evander had like 5 or 6 shots and created like 6 or 7, like a bunch of chances. He was very heavily involved. Arango had a good chance again. So I feel like what was happening was, maybe you could say the quality of the chances aren't great, but if you're giving even any kind of chances, lots of them in volume to really, really key good players, they're going to take advantage of them. Like a .05 XG for Hani Mukhtar isn't the same for him compared to a Nathan Burns
That's a good
or a
point,
Walker Zimmerman,
yeah.
right? So that's one context, and they've been getting burned by a lot of like just top quality DPs. That's one of the things that has happened of late, which didn't happen in this game, right? Gazdag and Rossi. Rossi was involved in the first one, but they weren't as heavily involved in terms of the chances they had. So I think that's a big step moving forward. Can you reduce the amount the DPs are involved in making the difference against you? Because that's, I think, one issue that Charlotte has had, is that a lot of the quality attacking midfielders and just attackers in general have been the ones that have been making the difference against Charlotte. Can you start to reduce, because that's the game plan, right? Every team's going to come in with a game plan of how do we get our Espinoza, our Ojeda, how do we get these guys involved? And so if you can stop them from being as involved and get their backup options, their plan Bs, their plan Cs, to be how how they attack you, you're more likely to win and prevent goals, because plan A is what you need to stop.
Well, I mean, last year Dean said we're just going to stop the crosses from coming in, and that's essentially what we did, right? And then this year the crosses are just coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Did Dean cut off the wine thing this year?
No,
Well,
it's still there.
It's also ball carrying, right? That was one thing I wrote in that article when I was asking when I asked the question, has there been a regression in the defense? And one of the stats that came up was that they're close to leading the league in terms of just allowing progressive ball carrying forward into the box. A good example of this was when they played Nashville at home. They won the game, but Quasem, their right winger, just drove past like Westwood and then Bronica and just the whole defense. I think out left, I think it was Reem at the time. And it was just like he went through like 3 or 4 guys and got all the way towards the box, and then Hani Mukhtar was able to put away the goal. So there's those moments like that where it's just, if you're getting beat, 2, 3, 4 guys, I mean, they're just breaking all of your lines, carrying the ball forward. And I think that's one area where Charlotte could definitely improve, is just stopping the ball. Just how do you stop the ball and force teams back a little bit? And I think that's one other key area moving forward. And again, I feel like in this game specifically, Columbus didn't quite have all the solutions. When I talked to Columbus fans, they were very frustrated because their team didn't seem to have a different gear, a different route forward. And so that is credit to Charlotte a little bit, because Columbus is very good at implementing their game plan.
Yep.
Clearly, they have been winning without Cucho Hernandez, right, all season. So I do say that is some credit to Charlotte, that they were able to at least frustrate the Columbus Crew fan base enough to say, like, hey, Nancy needs to have a plan B or plan C, because Charlotte, for the most part, to Crew fans, felt that Charlotte stopped plan A, their possession style game. And so for me, that's progress. Is it enough? No, you have to keep building on it. You still gave up 2 goals. But the fact that you didn't let Rossi dominate the game, you didn't let Gazdag find his first goal, right? He's still looking for his first goal in Columbus. So those kind of guys that are going to be the main players in their implementing their game plan, it didn't seem like Columbus really had it. And I think that is props to the team in general.
Yeah. And also, going back to, I always mention this, the East is a very difficult conference, right? And so, like, we don't win often outside of home, but, like, I can't think of many MLS teams that have a solid away record either, and so let's move on and kind of talk about that, right? We've got 2 games back to back, right? And so these are the last 2 of the month, right? Because it's been a terrible month if you look at it, right? out of the Open Cup. We've lost, a match at home as well, right? On the road. To me, it's kind of forgivable, and we touched on a little bit. You're gonna go to Nashville, you're gonna go to Columbus. It's gonna be hard.
And Orlando too.
Yeah,
3 in a
Orlando.
row.
Yeah.
That's I mean, they're all top 6 right now.
Yep. Yeah, and so those are gonna be tough matches, right? DC, we touched on it, and I think we even debated this a bit as well, where felt like you should have took a Zaha and a Westwood to that game to try to make the difference, right? At the end of the day, they were eliminated in penalties, right? Which kind of sucked.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Obviously, we don't practice them.
Let's touch a little bit on that because that's insane.
Please. I think
right
me and
before
you
we
could've
move
scored
on,
more, right?
yeah, 4 penalties. Shout out to Brand because he was the only one who scored.
Yeah. Only one.
Right, but I don't think I've seen a more terrible
They were soft.
Yeah.
Put your foot through the ball,
Yeah.
man. If you're just gonna place it in the keeper's hands, why
Yeah.
even take it?
And we talk about DPs, right? I mean, Abada was the last one, right? And he didn't look confident at all in that penalty that he took.
No, I also think it was kind of strange because Melanda went first.
Yeah.
And I think if we talk about bringing Zaha or Westwood, I don't think he's even taking a penalty probably in that situation, right? So I think that goes back to it. Just some of the rotation. Melanda's probably not prepping PKs as often as other guys, but it kind of fell that way. Where it's like, okay, well, he's one of the veteran guys in this group, and so he has to step up and take the first one.
They could have been on the bench and sat through the whole extra time and just subbed him in right at the end, right? I mean, I don't know, man.
Shout out to Bingham. He did everything he could.
He did.
He saved, 3 penalties?
Yeah, kept us in it.
That's insane. You won the penalty shootout 2-1. That's crazy.
Did they even have to take that penalty?
I don't think I've ever seen a worse round of penalties than that penalty shootout.
You obviously don't watch England games.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to Red Bulls then, right? Tough opponent. We go there Wednesday, right? I mean, they haven't been great this season. But they've got Choupo-Moting. They've got who am I missing?
Emil Forsberg.
Emil Forsberg, right? And we have to add, and you pointed this out as well during our match, right? That we won't have Brant Bronico for this match.
Suspended, right?
Yeah, suspended with yellow card accumulation. And while New York Red Bulls, they're one spot below Charlotte, they have been really good at home. They're 5-1-1 at home. And I was looking up the matchup between Charlotte and New York. They're very dominant against Charlotte. I think it's 4 wins, 1 draw against Charlotte in New York. It's pretty brutal. The goal difference, and it's they're not close. It's 5-2 with that playoff game.
They just
a 3-1, a 2-0, a couple 3-1.
Side note, I'm still mad. We did everything we could to go to that playing game, and 10 minutes in, we're losing 2-0. I look over and I'm like, bro, why did I come here? I was like, CJ, let's go home.
He's like, this is about as productive as when we went to that U.S. Open Cup match.
Dude. I'm like, dude, it's a Wednesday night or I can't. It was a weekday. We went to New York on a weekday to watch these guys.
The good thing is the flights were probably cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went on
drove?
the bus. Yeah,
Man, you ain't got that top bin $90, man.
bro, that was the first season or second season.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Now
Bus 90.
Yeah.
Top bus.
Nice.
Professional guys, keep it professional.
Brian, talk to us about this game, dude. What can we expect from Charlotte FC?
I mean, I think it's going to be difficult. I think coming off of, obviously a good result this weekend, but going on the road to New York where they have really struggled as a team, where New York has been successful. Again, that record 5-1-1 at home. I mean, we'll just I'm looking for a draw at the very least if they can pull that off. I mean, and just getting any kind of point on the road at this point is just the main thing. Kind of build off the momentum if you can. They're gonna press, right? That's what New York does. It's gonna leave space in behind, so that should give an advantage at least to Ajiman and Zaha. They should have 1v1 opportunities. So if they can take advantage of those, take a couple of get a couple. And just stay competitive. I think that's the main thing here. Just try to find a way to turn this road momentum around, because I feel like that's what this stretch is really all about. Obviously, they have 5 straight road games. And you asked me before on our last show, like, are you concerned about the road form? At that time, I wasn't, and I'm still not yet until we start to see them play these types of teams, right? The New York on the road or Toronto on Saturday. Those are the games that they should be finding results against.
Well, I wasn't as concerned. I was more now I'm more concerned because of the position we are in MLS,
form,
right?
Yeah.
Because we lost to New England, right? And
Yes.
we lost. Who else did we lose to?
At home, Chicago.
Chicago,
Yeah.
right? So that's 6 points that I
Yes.
was kind of expecting us to have.
Those were needed, yes.
Right, and so now looking at this 5-game stretch, I'm like,
Yeah.
they have to pick up points.
No, 100%.
Right,
100%.
and so it's a different level of like before it's like, okay, we kind of get away with losing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, well, like if Charlotte's trying to be a top 4 team in the East, you got to start picking up something.
No, and I think this is the stretch where you see them start to pick up road points because so when you see them on the road, it was Montreal. They got the win there. It was a game they should be competitive against and win, right? It's the top teams in the East where they're really struggling on the road, or going all the way out west to Seattle, right, for the opener. Tough game, tough traveling. They struggled. It was all the playoff teams, the playoff caliber teams on the road they struggled against, right? Nashville, Orlando, and then you got Miami thrown in there. Although I do think they should have probably snuck a point out of that Miami game.
Yeah.
But those types of matchups.
But we
is where
snuck
they
it out
really-
of the Seattle game.
Exactly. So it balances out. But my main point is they really seem to struggle in the tough road matchups. But in Montreal, they got a result. So I think
that's a fair
where
point.
That's where it's like, okay, now you have a stretch of games where you're going up against weaker opposition. The question is, how do they do? If they start getting results, I'm not as concerned about whether or not this team can get points on the road. They can get the points they should get on the road, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at like SKC in June, right? Toronto.
We got
this
Chicago.
weekend. Chicago.
They just
Chicago's
kinda up in
playing
there.
well,
Chicago's
man.
a
They
good,
cooked us
they're,
at home.
They're good. They're a good. I think Chicago's
I mean,
an
Isn't there
underrated
Philly
team.
in there somewhere too.
Philly's tough.
Yeah.
So there's a couple tough ones, but my main point is like if you get points in Kansas City, if you get points in Toronto,
There's spots
maybe
where we
sneak-
could go and pull wins,
right.
And
And
pull
so if you
draws.
and if you just pull a couple wins out of those 5, or just even one and a draw or 2,
Yeah.
you're looking at 4 or 5. If you're keeping a point,
that's fair.
a point per game average, you're doing.
Yeah,
you're gonna
like,
be okay.
If you would have told us you're gonna lose in Nashville and Columbus,
Mm-hmm.
Orlando, I'd be like, yeah, that I can see that happening. You
Yes,
know.
yes.
And so, but like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's favorable games, right? And now it's also back to that where, like, okay, how do we turn this result that got us kind of back on an upwards trajectory, and we continue that by, maybe getting a point against Red Bulls, or maybe a point against Toronto, or both teams, right? Or even
Against
a
Red
win.
Bulls will be huge in my opinion.
Yeah, no, a point this week, this Wednesday is huge. I think Toronto is the one you're circling out of the weekend slate, or this week's slate of games. If you can get all 3 in Toronto, I think that's a big lift
Yeah.
there. And then, I mean, try to get anything out of New York, but I mean, New York again, like I said, their goal differential is like plus
Yeah.
10 at home or something.
And
like
you're
that.
right, like their record against us is like,
Yeah, very
They
solid.
own us, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're not New York City. That's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. No, definitely not.
Who do you think is most likely to replace Brent Bronico in that midfield? I mean, the obvious choice, Diani.
Yeah, it's Diani. It's got to be, right?
I would like Williams. I would like to see Williamson get another shot. I mean,
That's fair.
The thing is, I think the reason Dean keeps going Diani is because I don't think he trusts anybody else besides Bronico and Westwood to do the running, right?
Yeah.
They're dual 8s, but they're willing to do the running to kind of cover, usually. Obviously, there's been some struggles this year,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the theory behind it, is like we've got 2 really willing runners, and he also wants them both to have the option to get forward and help support the attack. I think that's why Dean likes having them out there. So when he doesn't have one of them, I think the reason he opts for Diani is because he's ideally more of a defensive presence. Now that
Right.
hasn't really panned out. So that's why I kind of feel like, well, if you're just going to go for it, let's just go for it and see what Williamson can also bring, and just see if there's any chance that he can. I mean, I don't think he's going to be as willing a runner as Westwood or Bronico, but can he at least provide some more progression and just see what happens? Because right now, you've already tried Diani multiple times. It hasn't really worked out. Williamson did have a decent game in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, I give you
right? He
that.
got an assist. So I think maybe you just see if there's a chance that maybe he's just learned his teammates a little bit better, sort of connected with them a little bit, better at this point, and just give him another go. It's risky, but honestly, at the end of the day, for me, Bronico is super key, and so missing him, no matter what you do, you're at a deficit.
Yeah. Brent Bronico is inevitable, as we
It is,
talked
man.
about in the
Yep.
past.
The
But
mayor shot.
I agree with you. And also, I mean, it has to serve as an opportunity for Williamson because, I mean, like, we really haven't seen much from him. I mean, like you said, he had an assist. He also had an assist against Chicago, right, for Pat's goal.
Yep, that's right.
And so, I mean, he's on a loan as well. I mean, we're loan FC, so like if you're trying to like stay at Charlotte, right?
Get on a loan.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree with you that honestly that's not a bad take, and plus like I mean we're not like the expectations for this game, at least for me, aren't that positive. Like you said, like if we can go there and draw and pull a point, I'm more than happy.
Say for the last 4 seasons, though, anytime we've been on the road, we haven't really expected much, right? We just talk junk and hope we win.
Yeah.
But, to your point, right? There's some tough games, but there is some winnable games, man. So 4 or 5 points could be enough, but we'll see. It's all really going to depend too on how our home form is once we come back, right? Because that's kind of concerning seeing us dip there at home, because we kind of ride on that extra hard, right, to get those points to get us in the league, but. We could be sitting outside the play-in spot come the time we head back.
Yeah,
there.
well, I think that's the most concerning thing when you lose to Chicago at home and when you lose to New England at home. Like now, like you're like, okay, like we're in a very eighth, and we're in a very tough. Like we're just gaining ground again instead of solidifying where we were at. Yeah.
It's a 6-pointer, man. It's Wednesday, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. I mean, well, because New York's one point behind them in the table. I'm not willing to give up on Charlotte's home form yet. It was a blip, but they had a blip last year too, right? They had that 3-0 loss to Minnesota, kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That
Sunday game.
I didn't expect Charlotte to go undefeated at home. I mean, it would have been nice, but I mean, I didn't expect them to actually pick up all like 51 points at the bank. So like there was gonna be a hiccup probably somewhere. Ideally, this is the only hiccup at home in terms of just they get consistent points. I think the other thing to think about is because of all these road games that are coming up, that means there's a lot of home games and a lot of favorable situations on the back end of that, right? Once you hit July, they have 9 of their last 14 games are at home. And they only have 5 road games across like 4 months. Yeah. Right? Way less travel, way more, just like way less like logistical issues. Like I was just talking to like just technical staff and comms people and stuff. Like this last month has been hard on everybody. Like think about all the traveling that just all the staff is having to do, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's feeling it, right? It's not just the players, it's everybody's traveling. So
you're professionals, bro.
You get paid, guys.
Yeah,
you get paid.
I mean, Dean said it. Remember when they traveled? So they're in their private plane. They're getting their comfortable pillows to see, like
Grapes, all kinds of stuff.
Yes and no, dude. I mean,
you want to be it, you gotta be it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So to me, keep them coming. I mean, it's more of the pressure to MLS to like soften up those rosters.
Folks, I have to cover this. You know how tiring it is, man.
You know how tired it is to sit on this couch and complain.
I got a real job.
Nice, awesome. Speaking of form, I want to touch a little bit on Patrick Agyemang as well. I know we talked a little bit about him, but I mean, he's been 4 goals in the last 3 matches, and one of the things I asked Patrick that I really liked from him these last couple of pressers, because I mean, he's been scoring, so they've been putting him out, right? Yeah. Is there's a leadership aspect that Patrick Agyemang is taking on that I think, like, I really like that about his game as well. Where, like, it's not only like he's talking, but he's putting goals up. And I think that's important because, last year he's competing for a starting DP spot. This year he has to solidify the number 9, right? Yeah. And, I mean, he's doing it now. Right, and he's coming out and speaking like a leader at Charlotte FC, and I really like that about him.
Yeah, he mentioned that his role is now like you expect results from me every game. Like he pretty much said that. Like he's like that's the job. Like he assigned, like the assignment is to be scoring and putting up and producing regularly, being consistent. Like that's his main vision. I think he also mentioned, this is when I asked him the question about how what he had learned about himself from his first goal to his 20th goal, because he had scored his 20th this past weekend, and he mentioned that he liked the fact that the first goal was a header and that 20th goal was also a header, and he mentioned that's an issue that he that's something he has to work on. But the fact that his first and his 20th were headers, that's an area of his game that he needs to improve. So I feel like he also he's very aware of like what he needs to do better, but also like that he has the vision and the kind of goal setting in mind. He knows what his expectations are. He knows what people's expectations of him are, and he kind of knows like what issues to address and how to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on that, right? I mean, set pieces has been one of our Achilles' heel, in my
Yep.
opinion, right? The corners have just been useless, and like,
Yeah.
to see him score off of a corner with his head,
Yeah.
right, is good for him. Kudos to him.
Yeah.
I hope he continues that for the men's national team and Charlotte,
Yeah.
right?
It's always gonna be something that people bring up until he fixes it, because he's 6'5", right?
Yeah.
People are gonna notice when you can't. The same thing used to happen with Erling Haaland when he was playing for Dortmund. I'm a big Dortmund fan, and that was one of the concerns they had with Haaland back in the day. It was like, hey man, he's like this huge dude.
Yeah,
and
why
he doesn't.
can't you
And he
score?
can't. He can't score with his head.
Yeah.
And so that was like a concern of his before he got to Man City. It's not really a concern anymore, but obviously that has changed. But I mean, that's just the thing. Like if you're as tall as Ajiman is, and you're not scoring goals with your head, they expect people when they see Ajiman, they expect Benteke, right?
Yeah.
That's just the stature that he has. And when you're that tall, like you just expect an aerial threat.
But I will give him. Cause I've been busting on him about his first touch and everything
Mm-hmm.
this season, and I think
How about that goal? That was a first touch
that's
goal.
what I'm saying, right? It was. See,
Two of them.
I was
You
going
set
there.
yourself up for that
No,
one.
no, I was going there. That and just the way he would hold up the ball too. Like I thought he held up the ball very well this game for us, and that again is kind of what we've been needing, right, from Pat.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you're right. His first touch. I mean, he did think about it quite extra long, right?
Yeah.
It's like, geez, go ahead and kick it already. But no, yeah, to the point, right? I think he had a really complete game this weekend, and it's good to see. So, kudos to you, Pat.
What are the chances you guys give him of making the World Cup roster? Because he'll be at the Gold Cup, right? But I'm like, the opportunities he's had, he's taking advantage of them.
He scores
right?
when he's out there.
Right. I mean, like, in the Gold Cup, you're going to play, like, you know, these islands, right? So you can stat pad. You know, like, let's be real. Like, there's like 4 or 5 teams that are okay, and then you have USA and Mexico and Canada.
Well, the question is, are
You
those
know?
teams going to, like, just kind of get in his head and just frustrate him, right? Because they're going to be a little dirtier playing versus the
Yeah, but
way
I
they-
think like you're the opposition in the Gold Cup is just so like the bar is so low that like he can score 4 or 5 goals, right? And it's not gonna be anything amazing, but it helps him solidify
depend on how
himself.
frustrated he gets with himself.
It also depends on, I mean, he's got to earn the minutes too, right? I mean, likely he scored 3 goals in 4 games with the U.S. men's national team, but I mean, Brian White is in red hot form right now, right? He's getting close to, I mean, I think he's got double-digit goals now. I think he has 10 after his brace this past weekend. So, I mean, he's pushing Baribo for that golden boot right now. So I think Brian White has a strong case to be earning a lot of minutes throughout the gold. I mean, whether it's like these friendlies and then, you know, seeing, because it's what the friendlies they've been invited to so far. I don't think they've officially announced the Gold Cup roster
They
yet.
haven't, yeah.
But it's, I mean, this is
They play Turkey and who else they play? I can't remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head either.
Yeah.
This is the dress rehearsal for that, right? So, I mean, Brian White, I think, is probably the strongest candidate to really make an impression. But Ajiman has to take his chance. I'd imagine he's going to get 45 minutes. And
He
one
definitely
or
will.
both.
He's earned
Yeah.
like from
Yeah.
a U.S. men's national
Yeah.
team perspective, he's earned the right. Switzerland, thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
But then you look at like the Gold Cup. They're playing Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, and Haiti. Come
Yeah.
on, bro. Like
Yeah, he should have.
you could stat pad.
Yeah.
Like,
If he can get a moment, I mean, at least, I mean, he's gonna, I mean, at least get a chance, like 20 minutes off the bench, something like that. I mean, it comes down to just continuing to put put shots on goal and get a goal here and there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
right now in the U.S. men's national team pool, like not a lot of guys are doing that for their national teams, right? You look at like Josh Sargent, like doing really well for Norwich City, but whatever
Doesn't
happens
score,
when he
dude.
gets to the you know the difference between club and country, like he comes to the U.S. men's national team, and I think it's been like 16 games without a goal or something like that. And again,
Yeah.
like these are against a lot of CONCACAF opponents that are not always going to be the strongest. So if he's not putting them away, like somebody has to. If you're going to make the World Cup
Yeah.
roster, you got to show that you can put goals away with
Yeah.
the national team. I think that's what Pochettino is honestly looking for. It looks like he's really pushing these the European players by adding a lot of MLS guys, saying like, hey, like jobs are available if you win them. And I think that should be the silver lining for players like a Ajiman, for
Yeah.
a player like a Jack McGlynn, a lot lot of these guys be like, hey, there's an opportunity if I really like just fight like hell, right, and just
For
really
sure.
get after it. It's still is the probability high? No, but the probability wasn't high that he even got to this moment.
Yeah.
And so I think at this spot it's about hoping and dreaming.
I just think like it's a perfect, like you said, like it's a perfect opportunity, and you couldn't ask for better opponents to try to like solidify yourself. You know, I mean, like you're not going to play friendlies against Italy and Argentina. You know, like it's Haiti. You know, no disrespect to Haiti and, and Saudi Arabia, you know. But, I mean, to me, I'm like, okay, like there's like a path carving for him to make the World Cup. And I think that would be huge for a team that barely was, like, named in 2020, right, to, like, having a representation in a World Cup, right, would be phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Go get it, Pat.
100%. And I think this moment for Charlotte fans is not going to happen very often. The chances that they have another striker competing for the U.S. or any attacking position. I mean, obviously we have Nimfasha in the player pool, and that could be in the mix down the road. He's got a lot of potential, but you just never know.
For the home country, too, the hosting country. Yeah,
you never know for these things, right? Yeah, that especially. That's another aspect that's just super rare. But just any attacking player for Charlotte FC making the U.S. men's national team squad is just not going to happen very often, and so you just got to enjoy it.
What kind of negativity is this?
I'm just saying it's hard for an MLS player.
Charlotte FC, man. We're Charlotte FC,
even saying that the two players that we have representing like are getting a lot of stick from our fan base.
I think that's what kind of.
I feel like Reem deserves it though,
dude. Lee hates Tim Ream, you know. He doesn't like Pat. He didn't like Kalina either.
No.
Hey.
No, because everybody wants to be all happy and like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, at some point, like, it's, you know, somebody's going to play devil advocate, I guess.
Nice. Okay. Given where we're at in the season, right? And so I want to ask you guys, who's a player, and add it in the comment section, too, that you need to see more from, right? And so to me, I touched a little bit with, I think Eric Williamson is a guy I'd like to see more, right? I think Abada is another name that sticks out to me. Although he's scoring, I need to see more clutch moments. Like DPs to me are more clutch moments, right? And so who's a player? Lee, you got somebody in mind in this roster that you're like, I'm expecting a lot more from this guy?
Yeah, I mean, this game, not this weekend's game, but Zaha, I want him to continue that upward trend that you mentioned earlier. Westwood sort of dropped off this year, in my opinion, right? It'd be nice for him to get back into that same form he was in last year. I mean, Abada, we slag him off a little bit, but his stats kind of talk opposite of what we think we see on the field, right, or the pitch.
Not to me.
You know? No, that's what I'm saying. Right? We've all got that one player we think could do better.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I just want to see Pat continue where he's going, like, and Zaha. And I think, to answer your question, Westwood. I need to see Westwood step up a little bit.
Yeah, that was going to be the first name on my list, too, is Westwood. I think specifically because he's a player that really raises this team's floor and ceiling, maybe more than any other player on the roster, because of all the work he does on. And we talked about this a few weeks back, I think, when during the stretch of just really bad form from him, and we kind of targeted him a little bit in terms of just like him not playing well. And I mentioned like there's just no way to replace him specifically on the roster. His leadership trait is top 3 on the team, right? His vision and his passing when he's at his best is top 3 in the team. His willingness to run and recover is top 3. He's like a top 3 player in multiple different traits. And so like there's just not a way, if he doesn't hit the top level form at some point, especially down the stretch, there's just not a way to replace what he can bring to the team. He essentially brings in one player a package of like 3 or 4 players worth of traits, I feel like, and there's just not another guy on the roster that you can do that with. And so I think him not hitting sort of his top level, his ability to help combine and support the attack in and around the box while also being able to recover defensively is just so pivotal to what Dean Smith wants this team to do. He wants this team to be aggressive in the attacking third, and Westwood's a part of that. But you also, while being that aggressive in the attacking third, having that supportive attacking player, you give up a gap in behind you. And so him being able to recover that gap is so key. So I think him being able to step up, he's 35, right? The pressure's really on. And because regression is natural. with age.
Yeah,
it just
for sure.
It just happens.
Yeah.
And you can't avoid it.
Yeah, you can't.
Recovery,
Yeah.
recovery's longer. All these things happen, and so for him to be able to find that and be like find that top
Yeah.
level down the stretch when it's key, and being able to support these attacking players, I think is the most important.
And Trent knows ball because he says, I think Koulibaly will be a good replacement next. That's
Who do
a
you think,
player.
though, to your own question, who do you think other than Abada?
I said Williamson. I think. I mean,
say
because
Wilson?
because I think he's a player that I expected more. I chose him as my player of the season.
There you go.
Unfortunately,
The top being cursed.
the top
That's-
is cursed.
that's your
Hey,
own
I
fault.
almost picked BL.
Yeah.
So
well, we're thankful you didn't.
yeah, right. Sorry, Eric. I had to sacrifice you. Right, but yeah, no. I think Koulibaly's a player that like is really highly rated. You know, everybody that I speak to is very high on him. So you know, Westwood hold out a year or two more and let this guy
Please.
come in.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, I think I that's it. With that, like, let's go into some score predictions, right? Actually, like, instead of score predictions, I want to know how many points do you guys think we'll take off of New York Red Bulls in Toronto these next two games?
I'm gonna go with 4.
Dude, Spurs won a trophy, so anything can happen.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
champions. Champions. Thank you for that segue. Now this is the Spurs show. No, I think 4 points. I think we'll draw against New York and we should beat Toronto.
Dang, okay. Just like that, our
Just like that,
our
man.
away form just magically gets better, huh?
I'm just saying, right? Like you said, man, Spurs won a trophy. Anything's happening this year, man. Anything can happen. Play the lottery, folks.
Nice. Brian?
I'm gonna go 3. I think the Toronto play is the stronger opportunity for a win. I'm definitely still concerned about New York on Wednesday, but I mean, 3. You got to get points this stretch. You got to show that it's just maybe the tough road games that we're getting to them. You got to show that you can win the beatable road games.
Yeah.
No more 5-game losing streaks. Please.
Shout out to Kyle. He's just as optimistic as Lee. He
I
said
know.
a
See,
draw.
Kyle knows ball, man.
Yeah. So shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out, Kyle.
I think we'll get a point. So
Negative Nancy over there, man.
listen, the games are coming thick and
Yeah,
fast.
you should- before the show kicked off live, you were like, "Man, we're getting 9 points easy in the next 3 games." Blah 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 blah. It's like,
Who was he
man,
talking to? Because that definitely wasn't me.
I'm gonna start pre-recording, man.
You know, and so Sam says 2 points. Yeah, I could see 2, but I think we'll get 1 point.
1 point.
Yeah.
You think all we're gonna do is draw against Toronto? That's it.
Yeah. And so I don't see us beating Red Bulls, especially with their favorable results versus us as well.
Yeah,
right?
but you know,
And also, like, they're just coming. The games are coming fast, you know, and so
they're coming fast for everybody.
Yeah, 6 points. That's very
Yeah,
optimistic.
go
as
ahead,
well,
Maximus,
right?
man. Go ahead and preach it, brother.
Nice. With all of that said, Lee, where can people find you at, my man?
At COTFC Fan TV, outside the stadium.
Yeah, I love those post-match
Yeah, that's a lot of
interviews.
fun. Those are fun, man. We talk to the kids, to the adults, to whoever. Come out, have your say. Nothing's ever edited.
I like
We'll
seeing
put it out
Brian
there.
Palma on there. He's always got something to say.
Yeah. And it's like,
Shout out to the Yeti clan.
That's it. Yeah, Yeti Clan. That's it. And even if you want to bitch about the refs, I've been trying to shut that down. You feel free to bitch about the refs. You know, it's just, it gets annoying to hear it because we all know the MLS refs suck. So there's that. So yeah, at COTFC Fan TV.
Dude, people go
And,
in on. We posted a video. They're still arguing today about those refs.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And champions.
Of MLS, Charlotte FC, right? Brian, where can people find you at?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter at Mauer Media. You can find all my written content at topbin90.com. And also, we're doing a Dropping Points watch along on Wednesday.
Nice.
So, because we got double game week again on the MLS fantasy side, so check that out as well. It won't be on the Top Bin 90 Twitter page this time.
Yeah, people are like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "All good, all good."
What are
It
bonus points?
It will be on the YouTube Top
Yes,
Bin 90.
it will be on the
channel,
Top Bin 90 YouTube, though.
Catch it on there. With that said, Jorge Gonzalez, Top Bin 90, right? Hopefully I'm wrong, right? And we get 6 points. Good.